Hi everyone, and welcome back to Rotten Egg Stories. If you're new here, this is the place where we dive into the most thought-provoking, emotional, and sometimes downright messy stories from Reddit. We explore the twists, turns, and tough decisions people face in their relationships. And hopefully we leave with a little more clarity and wisdom for our own lives. Since it's the holiday season, we're doing something a little different today. Instead of our usual single story, we're bringing you 3 stories to unpack. Each one full of drama, tough conversations, and hard truths. It's our way of giving you a little extra this season to enjoy while you're relaxing, celebrating, or maybe even dodging awkward family dinners. So grab a cozy drink, settle in, and let's dive into these real-life dilemmas together. Don't forget, if you love content like this, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss an episode of Rotten Egg Stories. Now, let's jump into our first story. This one's about a boyfriend who feels dismissed and unvalued in his relationship. It's a tough read because it touches on issues of communication, trust, and intimacy. Things we all need in a healthy relationship. Here we go. GF, F23, thinks I'm M28. Weird, for having a notepad document to track how infrequently we have sex. What am I to do? Hi, I don't really post stuff like this usually. Me, M28, and my GF, F23, have been together 4 years now. I do love her a lot, and everything was great for at least the first 2 years, but it seems something happened within the last year and a half. 2 years, and our intimacy has taken a huge nosedive to the point where I have to get consistent therapy to talk about it with Aeon Buddy. And it also is the point of frequent arguments. In these arguments initially, she would lie and say that I was wrong about how frequently we had been having sex, or when the last time we did was, making me consistently doubt myself, so I took it upon myself to create a note document on my phone to list when the last time we had sex was, and how often. This is very weird, I know, and I do not like doing it at all. But if I don't, she seems more than happy to keep trapping me in lies about it every time it comes up. We had another argument like this earlier this morning, which ended in her screaming and crying at me, calling me a pig for wanting to have sex with my girlfriend more than once every 2 months, and saying I'm fucking weird for having a note on my phone keeping track of it. I don't know what else to do at this point. Every time I try to talk about it and explain to her that I'm not trying to be a pig and that I just want to be intimate more often with the woman I love, like we used to be, it turns into a full-on screaming argument with her calling me names like a pig or caveman and saying that all men care about is sex every single time. Again, I get that it's weird to have a document like that detailing how often we are intimate with each other, but I can't have her just lie to me every time like she has been. I've begged her to just tell me what the problem is so we can fix it time and again, but she doesn't seem to know or care. I really don't know what I should even do at this point. Has anybody else experienced similar? All right, let's take a look at some of the top comments from Reddit and see what people are saying about this situation. After each one, I'll share my thoughts. User Anxious Telephone 2997 says, nothing like 2 people holding onto a relationship that's been dead in the water for a good minute. That's blunt, but I can see where they're coming from. Relationships thrive on mutual effort. And when one or both partners stop showing up emotionally or physically, it can feel like trying to revive something that's already gone. However, it's not always that simple. Sometimes people stay because they're holding on to the good memories or the hope that things will go back to how they used to be. It's tough to accept when a relationship has run its course, but recognizing that reality is the first step toward either fixing it or letting go. User Mrs. Picasso 69 says, please just break up, oh my god. Short and dramatic. Classic Reddit. While breaking up might seem like the obvious answer to an outsider, for someone in the relationship, it's not so easy. 4 years together is a long time, and people often feel a sense of duty to try and fix things. That being said, if one partner is consistently dismissive of the other's feelings, as OP described, then leaving might be the healthiest option. It's not about giving up. It's about recognizing when you're the only one trying. User Similar Corner 8081 says, just break up with her. There shouldn't be this much arguing. Nothing has changed in the last 2 years, and you're still trying to fix it. Getting married won't make her want sex more. Break up and find someone you're compatible with. This is a more reasoned take. They're pointing out something crucial: compatibility. Physical intimacy is just one part of a relationship, but it's an important part for many people. If two partners have fundamentally different needs or expectations, resentment will build. I also think it's important to highlight their point about marriage. Some people think tying the knot will magically fix relationship issues, but it rarely works that way. If anything, marriage amplifies unresolved problems. OP needs to ask himself if he's holding on to this relationship because he truly sees a future, or because he's afraid of starting over. Here's my take. This situation isn't just about sex, it's about the foundation of any relationship: trust, communication, and mutual respect. The act of OP tracking intimacy in a notepad? While unconventional, it's not weird. It's a survival mechanism born from feeling unheard and invalidated. What strikes me here is the pattern of gaslighting. When someone makes you doubt your own memory or experience repeatedly, it creates a sense of instability in the relationship. That's what led OP to document something so personal. It's not because he's obsessive, but because he feels like he's defending his reality. Now, let's dig deeper. The girlfriend's reaction of calling OP a pig or caveman reveals a level of contempt that's troubling. Contempt is one of the biggest predictors of a relationship breakdown, according to research by Dr. John Gottman. Once we start viewing our partner as inferior or their needs as invalid, it's a slippery slope toward resentment. These kinds of arguments, where she shuts down the discussion with insults and defensiveness, block any chance for real resolution. To OP, you clearly love your girlfriend, and it's commendable that you're seeking therapy to process your feelings and work through these challenges. That shows a willingness to grow, not just for yourself, but for the relationship. But love alone isn't enough to sustain a partnership. You've tried to open up a dialogue, and her response has been to stonewall you or dismiss your concerns. That's a serious issue. A healthy relationship allows both partners to feel safe expressing their needs without fear of being ridiculed or attacked. Here's what I'd suggest. Have one last honest conversation. Sit down with her in a calm moment and express your feelings without accusation. Use I statements like, "I feel hurt when my concerns are dismissed," or "I need more emotional and physical intimacy to feel connected." If she responds with insults or refuses to engage, that's your answer right there. Ask about her needs. It's worth exploring why she might be withdrawing. Is she feeling overwhelmed by stress, mental health issues, or dissatisfaction in the relationship? Sometimes a lack of intimacy stems from deeper emotional or physical issues that haven't been addressed. However, she has to be willing to have that conversation with you. Reflect on compatibility. Intimacy is an important part of many relationships, and it's okay to acknowledge that this is a need for you. If she can't or won't meet you halfway, you need to ask yourself if this is the relationship you want to invest more time in. 4 years is a long time, but staying in a relationship that makes you feel unfulfilled will cost you far more in the long run: your self-esteem, mental health, and happiness. Give yourself permission to walk away. If you've exhausted every effort and she's still unwilling to work on the relationship, it's okay to leave. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let go of a love that isn't nurturing you anymore. You deserve a partner who values your needs just as much as you value theirs. Finally, I want to address the shame OP feels about the notepad. There's nothing inherently wrong with wanting clarity. What's important is recognizing that the notepad isn't the solution. It's a band-aid for a much deeper wound. Healing that wound requires mutual effort, and if she's not willing to join you in that process, you owe it to yourself to find peace elsewhere. That first story was heavy, wasn't it? It really highlights how important communication and respect are in any relationship. Now, let's shift gears to our second story, which is about boundaries, trauma, and the importance of being seen and respected for who you are today, not tied to painful pieces of your past. This one really struck a chord with me. So let's dive in. My boyfriend, 21M, won't stop using my 19F birth name. To put a long story short, I changed my name when I was 14 years old after an extremely traumatic event. It had nothing to do with my gender identity. I changed my extremely feminine name to another somewhat feminine name. My boyfriend of about 7 months has recently begun to joke about my birth name. He frequently sends me a meme that's gone around about girls with my birth name. I've briefly mentioned how I don't enjoy being called by my birth name, and he never does. I just don't know how to approach this gray area. I don't like it, but I feel like I'm overreacting. Am I overreacting? How do I approach this conversation? Let's see what Reddit had to say. User Basil Saint Sadface says, talk to him before the resentment builds up. Tell him it hurts your heart when he uses your old name, even if he's joking. This is solid advice. Resentment is like a slow poison in relationships. It starts small, but over time, it can erode even the strongest bonds. OP, if you're feeling hurt now, it's better to speak up sooner rather than later. The key is how you approach the conversation. Let him know this isn't about ruining the fun or overreacting. It's about honoring the version of you that you worked so hard to build after a painful experience. If he truly cares for you, he'll want to understand and respect that. User Lead with Love Always says, you unfortunately have to be clear on Reddit. People jump to conclusions, and you seem to know what to do. So why ask? This comment makes an interesting point. Sometimes, deep down, we already know what we need to do. But we seek validation because it's hard to trust our instincts when emotions are involved. OP, if you're here on Reddit asking if you're overreacting, it's probably because part of you feels dismissed in your relationship. That's a red flag in itself. Trust your feelings. They're valid. When something bothers you, it's worth addressing. Even if it seems small to someone else, it's big because it impacts you. User SheBeButt5555 says, my name is Name, and that's what I expect you to call me. Your jokes about my birth name are unfunny and disrespectful, and you need to stop making them. I love this direct approach. Sometimes we try to soften our boundaries too much because we're afraid of conflict, but clarity is kindness. OP, if he's a well-intentioned guy, he'll likely feel apologetic and maybe even embarrassed for crossing a line. If he doubles down or dismisses your feelings, though, that's a sign of deeper incompatibility. Respect isn't just about what someone says when things are good. It's how they respond when you're vulnerable or hurt. Let me unpack this a bit more. First, OP, you're not overreacting. Names are deeply personal. They're tied to identity, history, and sometimes trauma. Changing your name was a way to take back control after a traumatic event, and you have every right to feel protective of that boundary. What concerns me most here is that your boyfriend isn't just crossing a boundary. He's joking about it. Jokes can sometimes mask deeper issues, like a lack of empathy or an unwillingness to take you seriously. Even if he doesn't mean harm, this isn't a minor issue. Trauma leaves scars, and the people closest to us should want to avoid poking those wounds, even accidentally. Here's what I suggest. Have a direct conversation. Sit him down and say something like, hey, I know you don't mean to hurt me, but when you joke about my birth name, it brings up painful memories I'd rather leave in the past. I need you to respect this boundary and not bring it up again. This gives him the chance to correct his behavior without feeling attacked. Watch his reaction. If he's genuinely a good partner, he'll listen, apologize, and change his behavior. But if he dismisses you or doubles down, it's worth questioning whether he respects you enough to be in a relationship with you. A good partner doesn't just love the fun parts of you. They care for and honor the parts of you that hurt too. Trust your gut. If this behavior continues despite you addressing it, don't ignore your instincts. Boundaries are a non-negotiable part of any healthy relationship. Someone who can't respect them when you've communicated clearly may not be the right fit for you in the long run. And here's a final thought. Relationships are a space where we should feel safe. Safe to express who we are, safe to set boundaries, and safe to heal. If this relationship is making you feel small or dismissed, it's okay to reassess whether it's truly serving your growth and happiness. This story really shows how important it is to protect our boundaries, even when it feels uncomfortable to speak up. Now, let's move on to our final story. A 7-year relationship where one partner feels stuck waiting for a proposal. This one is a real heartbreaker. So let's dig in. It's been 7 years and my boyfriend 27M hasn't proposed. Am I 26F wasting my time? I, 26F, have been with my boyfriend, 27M, for 7 years. We have a great relationship. He is truly my best friend. Admittedly, I have been disappointed recently because I've been expecting an engagement at least for the past 2 years, which he has been aware of. I asked him today if he even ever wants to get married. He said he feels too immature to be married as far as his career and financial stability goes. He said it's a big deal to sign his life on the line to someone else. He also said that he's thought about engagements but not really about marriage, which I was confused about. I do feel that he 100% needs to work on his career financial stability, whereas I am well within my career. I am looking for this next step forward in our relationship. I feel like he could have been saving small amounts of cash each year if he really wanted to. He knows that I want to be engaged for 2 years before marriage. And I am considering the fact that we started dating very young. But with all things said, it feels like there is no engagement in sight, and I'm starting to wonder if I'm wasting my time. Imagine being with someone for 7 years, building your life around them, only to realize you're no closer to the future you've envisioned together. OP clearly loves her boyfriend, but his reluctance to take the next step is leaving her feeling stuck and uncertain about what to do next. Let's hear what Reddit had to say. User NRTT says, "Oh no, this sounds exactly like my ex. We were together for about 6 years and I was tired of waiting. He also always changed his mind regarding marriage. I finally came to the realization that we just wanted different things in life and broke up. Now I'm engaged to a wonderful man who didn't hesitate a second." This comment really hits on something important: clarity about what you want in life. OP's situation reminds me that sometimes love isn't enough if your long-term goals don't align. You can deeply care for someone, but if they don't share your vision for the future, it creates a constant push and pull dynamic. This Redditor's story offers hope. Leaving a long-term relationship doesn't mean you've wasted your time. It means you've learned more about what you truly need and deserve. User Sweaty Ambition says, "You should definitely have a better conversation with him about this before making any decisions. If he doesn't want to get married in a time frame you don't, that's worrying. If you're willing to wait a specific time, then it might be worth it." Gonna be a fun talk. This is a balanced take. Communication is key, especially in situations like this where the stakes are high. OP, it sounds like you've had conversations about engagement before, but maybe it's time to revisit the topic with more clarity. Ask him direct questions. What does marriage mean to you? What's holding you back? And do you see us reaching that step within the next 2 years? These conversations can be uncomfortable, but they're necessary to understand if you're on the same page, or at least the same chapter. User The Olive Nightet says, "It sounds to me like a serious conversation is needed. If being married is important to you, then you have to have a clear answer as to whether or not he can give that to you. There are ways to make him feel more secure about marriage, prenuptials, if that's his only hang-up. As for how long it takes, how long are you willing to wait? Is a legal marriage what you need, or is just a ceremony enough? There are a lot of compromises possible if you're willing, and only then. Time with people we love and who have loved us is never wasted, only changed. Whatever happens, it'll have taught you about your needs and wants, and from the sounds of it, how you ideally want to be with a partner." This comment brings up some thought-provoking questions. I love the idea of reframing the situation to focus on what marriage really means to you, OP. Is it the legal commitment? The sense of security? Or something symbolic about building a future together? Knowing the answers to these questions can guide you in deciding how long you're willing to wait, or if you even want to wait at all. And I agree with the sentiment here. Time spent in love is never wasted. Even if you choose to walk away, this relationship has given you insight into what you need from a partner. All right, let's break this down. OP, your story highlights one of the most difficult dilemmas in long-term relationships. balancing love for your partner with the reality of your needs and goals. You've spent 7 years building something beautiful with your boyfriend, but now you're faced with a fundamental misalignment. He's hesitant about marriage, and you're ready to move forward. Here's the thing about marriage. It's not just a piece of paper. It's a shared commitment to a future. When someone says they're too immature for marriage after 7 years together, it's worth digging deeper. Is it truly about finances and career stability, or is there an underlying fear of commitment? You mentioned he hasn't even thought about marriage in depth. This could mean he's either not ready for the kind of life you're envisioning, or he doesn't see marriage as a priority at all. Here's what I'd suggest. Have a serious talk about timelines and expectations. Ask him direct questions like, where do you see us in 2 years? 5 years? Do you see marriage as part of that? If his answers are vague or dismissive, that's a signal he may not be on the same page. Consider compromise, but only to a point. Some couples agree on long engagements, or they find alternative ways to feel committed, like buying property together or having a symbolic ceremony. However, compromises only work if both people feel satisfied. If you compromise too much, you risk building resentment over time. Know your non-negotiables. Marriage seems like a big deal for you, and that's okay. If he can't commit to your timeline, you need to ask yourself if staying is worth the emotional toll. Remember, love isn't about settling. It's about growing together toward shared goals. Reflect on the relationship's overall balance. Is he making other efforts to grow with you? Does he show up for you emotionally, support your ambitions, and invest in the partnership in other ways? If not, marriage isn't the only problem here. Finally, don't let fear of wasted time hold you back. Whether you choose to stay or leave, these 7 years have shaped you into someone who knows what they want in a partner and in life. That clarity is priceless. And if this relationship isn't aligning with your vision, it's okay to step back. The right person won't make you wait for the future you deserve. They'll build it with you. This story really underscores how important it is to align on values and long-term goals in a relationship. If you're in a similar situation, remember this. You deserve a partner who is as excited about your future together as you are. And if you're feeling stuck, trust yourself to make the choice that brings you closer to the life you want to live. Wow, what a journey today. These 3 stories remind us that relationships are never one size fits all. They're complex, messy, and sometimes require making really tough decisions. Whether it's about setting boundaries, aligning on life goals, or knowing when it's time to let go, the common thread is always about respect, communication, and staying true to yourself. As we wrap up this holiday special, I want to leave you with this. The holidays can be a time of reflection and connection, but they can also highlight areas of our lives that feel unsettled. If today's stories resonated with you, take a moment to think about the relationships in your own life. Are they lifting you up or holding you back? Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell to keep up with rotten egg stories. And as always, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Which story hit closest to home for you? Let's chat about it. Until next time, take care of yourself, hold your boundaries, and don't be afraid to choose the life you deserve. I'll see you in the next episode.